There is a particular quality to certain moments in our lives when the ordinary rhythm of existence seems to pause, when the mundane concerns that usually occupy our minds suddenly fall away like autumn leaves, and we find ourselves standing in a space where something older and wiser than our conscious understanding begins to speak. And today carries that quality for you, not because the universe operates on schedules or because divine timing follows the patterns we expect, but because your soul has reached a point of receptivity that it perhaps has never quite touched before, a softness born not from weakness, but from the exhaustion to try and control what was never yours to control in the first place. The angels, these messengers of clarity that exist beyond the limitations of our linear thinking, have been watching the story unfold between you and another soul, watching not with judgment, but with the infinite patience of beings who understand that human love is perhaps the most complex and sacred classroom we ever enter. And they have witnessed how you've held your heart open even when logic suggested you close it, how you felt the pull towards someone whose own journey has taken them into territories of confusion, fear, or simply profound uncertainty that comes when a heart recognizes its match, but the mind cannot yet accept what this recognition demands. What the angels interrupt today is not your routine or your plans, but rather the narrative you've been telling yourself about what this connection means, about whether you are foolish or feeling what you feel, about whether this person truly sees you, or whether you've been projecting your hopes onto someone who may never choose you the way you've already chosen them in the secret chambers of your heart. There is a choice being made, yes, but not in the way you've imagined it, not as a simple yes or no, not as a clear declaration or a definitive ending, but as something far more subtle and profound, a choice that is being made in layers, in moments, in the small internal shift that happen when a soul begins to recognize that running from love is also running from themselves. The angels want you to understand that you are not passive in this story, that your energy, your presence, the quality of love you carry has created ripples in the invisible world where all true decisions are actually made, and that the person whose heart is entangled with yours is feeling those ripples even if they cannot name them, even if they would deny them if asked directly, even if their current actions seem to contradict everything their soul knows to be true. This interruption, this moment of divine communication, comes because you are ready to hear something that would have devastated you even a few weeks ago. You are ready to understand that their choice and your peace are not actually dependent on each other, that you can honor what you feel without abandoning yourself to wait in a state of diminishment, and that the angels are not here to promise you that this person will suddenly awaken and run to your door, but rather to show you that you are standing at your own crossroads, your own moment of decision, where you get to choose whether you will continue to make yourself smaller in hopes that your smallness will make you more acceptable, or whether you will finally allow yourself to occupy the full space of your own magnificence and trust that anyone truly meant for you will not be frightened by your light, but will be drawn to it like a traveler who has been lost in darkness for far too long. In the realm where souls speak to souls, where the noise of the material world cannot penetrate, and where truth exists without the distortions of ego and fear, there's a conversation happening right now between your higher self and the higher self of the one who has captured your heart. And in that conversation, things are being said that their human personality would struggle to articulate, acknowledgments being made that their conscious mind is not yet ready to accept, and the angels stand as witnesses to this exchange. These messengers who can see both the human struggle and the soul agreement simultaneously, understanding that what appears to be indecision or distance from the outside is often the internal warfare of someone who senses that loving you would require them to become a version of themselves they have spent years avoiding. The choice your soulmate faces is not simply whether to be with you or not. It is whether to remain in the comfortable patterns of self-protection that kept them safe but unfulfilled, or to step into the kind of vulnerability that authentic love demands, the kind of presence that will require them to look at their own wounds, their own fears, their own conviction that they are somehow not enough or too broken to be truly loved. You have felt this struggle in the space between you, in the way they draw close and then retreat, in the messages that carry warmth but also careful distance, in the moments when their eyes have told you everything while their words have told you nothing, and you have questioned yourself endlessly, wondering if you're reading signals that aren't there, if you're inventing a connection that exists only in your imagination, if you're being foolish or naive or hopelessly romantic in a world that seems to reward guardedness and emotional calculation. But the angels want you to know that what you sense is real, that the connection is not fabricated, that the pull between you exists in dimensions that go far deeper than attraction or compatibility. This is recognition, the kind of soul recognition that happens perhaps only a handful of times in human lifetime, if we're fortunate. And such recognition is both a blessing and a profound disruption to anyone who encounters it, because it calls into question everything we thought we knew about ourselves and what we're capable of feeling. Right now, in the silence between you, in the space where words are not being spoken and commitments are not being made, your soulmate is undergoing a transformation they may not even be conscious of, a slow dismantling of the walls they built to survive whatever pain taught them that love was dangerous. And this process is not linear. It does not follow the timeline you would prefer. It happens in fits and starts, in moments of clarity followed by moments of retreat. And while you've been holding space for this process, you've also been exhausting yourself, haven't you? Try to be patient enough, understanding enough, available enough, as if your enduring alone could convince them of what their heart already knows. The choice echoes in the silence, because silence is where the deepest truths live, not in the declarations people make or the promises they offer, but in the quality of energy that exists between encounters, in the thoughts that arise unbidden in the middle of ordinary days, in the dreams where souls meet without the interference of waking resistance. And in that silence, something is shifting. A door is opening incrementally, but the angels would have you understand that whether that door opens wide enough for this person to walk through is ultimately beyond your influence. And this is not a failure of your love or your worth, but simply the sacred law that every soul must choose its own evolution, must decide for itself whether it will answer the call to grow or remain in the familiar territory of its fears. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from loving someone who has not yet learned to love themselves, from extending your heart towards someone who keeps one hand on the door as if preparing for inevitable escape. And you know this exhaustion intimately, don't you? It lives in your body as tension, in your mind as circular thoughts that offer no resolution, in your spirit as a heaviness that wasn't there before this connection began to consume so much of your emotional energy. The angels see how you've organized your life around the possibility of this person's presence, how you've kept yourself in a state of readiness, how you interpreted every small gesture as a sign, every silence as a test, every moment of distance as something you must have caused or could have prevented if only you'd been different, better, less needy, more patient. And they want you to understand that this waiting has been teaching you something, though perhaps not what you initially thought you were meant to learn. You believed, perhaps, that you were learning patience, endurance, the art of loving without condition or expectation. And while these are beautiful qualities when they arise from wholeness, they become forms of self-abandonment when they require you to continually diminish your own needs, to silence your own desires, to convince yourself that wanting clarity or consistency or reciprocity is somehow a spiritual failing, a sign that you haven't evolved enough, haven't surrendered enough, haven't trusted the process enough. But the wisdom this season of waiting actually carries has nothing to do with becoming more accommodating to someone else's inability to meet you. It has to do with recognizing the moment when patience transforms into self-betrayal, when hope transforms into denial, when love transforms into an excuse to avoid asking yourself the difficult questions about what you're actually receiving in this dynamic, and whether it nourishes you or depletes you. The angels are not romantic in the way humans are romantic. They do not privilege the idea of staying in situations that diminish us simply because we've invested time or emotion, or because we believe we've seen glimpses of what could be. They're interested only in the truth of what is, and what is happening right now is that you are learning to distinguish between a love that expands you and a longing that contracts you, between the connection that calls forth your highest self and the attachment that keeps you in a perpetual state of questioning your own worth. There is sacred purpose in this waiting, but not the purpose you've been ascribing to it. It's not about waiting for this person to be ready. It's about waiting for you to become clear, to reach the point where you love yourself enough to stop contorting yourself into shapes that might be more acceptable, to stop offering endless understanding to someone who has not earned it through their actions, to stop making excuses for behavior that, if you witness a friend enduring it, would break your heart. The weight you're carrying is not the weight of love, though it masquerades as such. It's the weight of hope deferred, of expectations unmet, of a future you keep painting in your imagination, while the present moment remains unchanged. And the angels would have you set this weight down, not because this connection is wrong or impossible, not because this person doesn't care or won't eventually choose you, but because you cannot carry someone else to their own awakening. And in trying to do so, you've been abandoning the one person you actually have the power and responsibility to love fully, yourself, from a perspective of the divine, from a vantage point where time does not exist as we experience it, and where the past, present, and future are all visible simultaneously. The angels can see things about this connection that your human eyes cannot perceive, and while they will not make promises about outcomes, because that would violate the sacred principle of free will, they can offer you something perhaps more valuable than promises. They can offer you perspective, context, the understanding of what is actually happening beneath the surface of the situation that has caused you so much confusion and pain. They see that the person whose heart is entangled with yours is undergoing their own profound spiritual crisis, though they would likely not call it that, though they might name it as stress or confusion or simply not know what they want. But what it actually is a confrontation between who they have been and who they would need to become to love you the way your soul deserves to be loved. This is not a small thing. This transformation they're being called to, it requires them to release identities they've clung to, patterns that have defined them, fears that have protected them from exactly this kind of depth. And while you've been perceiving their hesitation as rejection, the angels see it more accurately as terror, the kind of terror that arises when we sense we're standing at a threshold that will change us irrevocably if we cross it. They see, too, that you have been a catalyst for this person, that your presence in their life, whether physical or energetic, whether they acknowledge it or not, has disrupted something in them that needed disrupting, has illuminated corners of their inner world they had successfully avoided for years. And this is why they may seem to oscillate between drawing near to you and pulling away. They are not toying with you, though it may feel that way. They are caught in the ancient human struggle between growth and safety, between the unfamiliar terrain of authentic connection and the well-worn paths of self-protection. What the angels see that you cannot yet is that your peace, your clarity, your ability to stand in your own worth without external validation is actually the most powerful force in this entire dynamic. Not because it will manipulate this person into choosing you, not because it functions as some kind of spiritual strategy to attract them, but because when you genuinely embody your own completeness, you shift the entire energetic field between you. And in that shift, this person will either be drawn to rise to meet you, or they will reveal through their continued distance that they are not yet capable of the kind of love you represent. And either outcome, though they feel vastly different to your human heart, serves your highest good. The angels would have you understand that this moment, this exact moment you're living through, is not about them and their choice. It's about you and your choice, about whether you'll continue to organize your sense of self around whether this person recognizes your value, or whether you will finally, fully recognize it yourself and allow that recognition to inform every decision you make moving forward. They see that you've been making yourself available in ways that cost you, that you've been interpreting their breadcrumbs as sustenance, that you've been so focused on understanding them, accommodating them, waiting for them, that you have forgotten to ask the most important question. Is this how I want to be loved? Is this what I truly deserve? And if not, what am I willing to do about it? The divine perspective sees possibility everywhere, sees that hearts can change and people can grow and miracles of connection do occur. But it also sees that you cannot control those variables, that you can only control your own choices, your own boundaries, your own willingness to stop sacrificing your present peace for a future that may never materialize in the form you're imagining. And there is strange freedom in this limitation, because once you truly accept that you cannot make someone choose you, you can finally start choosing yourself with the kind of devotion you've been extending outward, hoping it would somehow return to you transformed into the love you've been craving. And so we arrive here at this threshold moment where the old story begins to fall away, even if you're not quite ready to release it, where the person you've been, the one who waited, who hoped, who tried to be enough, starts to dissolve into the person you are becoming. Someone who understands that love, real love, does not require you to diminish yourself, does not ask you to prove your worth through endurance, does not leave you perpetually uncertain about where you stand. The angels have interrupted everything today not to tell you what this person will choose, not to promise you a reunion or a revelation or a sudden rush of clarity on their part, but to ask you what you're choosing, to invite you to step through a doorway that has been waiting for you all along, a doorway that leads not to someone else's awakening, but to your own. Not to external validation, but to internal certainty. Not to a relationship that may or may not materialize, but to a relationship with yourself that is unshakable regardless of what anyone else decides. This is the real message, the one underneath all the others, that you are not at the mercy of someone else's journey, that your joy and peace and sense of completeness are not on hold until this person gets their act together, that you have always had the power to choose yourself, to honor yourself, to build a life that is so rich and full and aligned with your truth, that whether this person joins you and it becomes almost secondary to the fact that you are finally living as the magnificent being you were always meant to be. There is grief in this threshold, yes, because letting go of the story you've been telling yourself about how this is supposed to unfold feels like a kind of death. And the angels do not ask you to pretend otherwise. Do not ask you to spiritually bypass the very real sadness of releasing hope in the form you've been carrying it. But they do ask you to trust that what you're moving toward is infinitely more valuable than what you're leaving behind. That on the other side of this doorway is a version of you who knows her worth so deeply that she would never again accept less than genuine, consistent, wholehearted love. And here's what they cannot tell you, but what they can whisper at the edges of your consciousness. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone who is struggling to choose you is to stop waiting for them, to release them to their own journey, to step into your own life so fully that you become unavailable for half measures and maybes. Because sometimes that shift, that withdrawal of your patient waiting, is the very catalyst that allows someone to finally see what they've been, risking what they've been taking for granted, what they might lose if they don't find the courage to meet you where you deserve to be met. But even this cannot be your motivation, cannot be a strategy or manipulation, because the moment you choose yourself only as a means to make them choose you, you've missed the entire point. The point is that you deserve to be chosen fully and completely, not because of what you do or don't do, not because of your patience or your absence, but simply because you exist, simply because you are who you are. And if this person ultimately recognizes that truth and rises to meet it, beautiful, and if they don't, equally beautiful, because you will have learned the most important lesson of your life, that you are not the one who needs saving or choosing or completing, that you have always been whole, and that the greatest love story you will ever participate in is the one between you and your own soul, and everything else is just a reflection of how fully you've learned to honor that truth. And so the angels leave you here, not with certainty about what comes next, but with an invitation, a doorway, a choice that only you can make, and they will be waiting, watching with infinite love, to see what you decide, knowing that whatever you choose, if you choose it from a place of genuine self-love rather than fear or lack, will lead you exactly where you need to go. And perhaps, just perhaps, there is more to this story than can be told in one sitting. Perhaps there are mysteries still unfolding, shifts still occurring in realms you cannot see. And if you feel called to continue this journey, to explore what lies beyond this threshold, the angels will be there too, ready to guide you deeper into the truth of who you are and what you truly deserve. But for now, for this moment, simply sit with what has been spoken, let it settle into your bones, and notice what shifts inside you when you finally, courageously choose yourself.